Justin already said, good morning, everyone, and I appreciate everybody joining us today. My name is Ward Hagood. I am the Test and Evaluation Manager for the IPAWS program, and I will be this year's National Test Coordinator. Today, I'll be providing an informational presentation that just highlights this year's test. As we proceed, what are some of the key goals of our national test? If you go back to the Modernization Act of 2015, it was enacted to provide timely and effective warning regarding natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and other man-made disasters or threats to the public safety. The administrator shall ensure that training and tests and exercises are conducted for the public alert and warning systems by conducting these tests not less than at least every 3 years. Periodic nationwide tests the National Public Alerting Warning System. The IPAWS office, in conjunction with the FCC, test the IPAWS emergency communication pathways, which include this year will be WEA and EAS. State and local authorities also occasionally conduct their own WEA and EAS tests in their own individual localities. IPAWS Modernization Act calls for upgrading the IPAWS capabilities to ensure that the president can communicate to the public under all conditions, and that was one of the key aspects of the public law. As we move on, some of the additional goals is to evaluate the effectiveness of the FEMA Public Alert Warning System to distribute emergency message nationwide, and then also to make sure operational readiness of the infrastructure for the distribution of these national messages. Additionally, to ensure that there's an effective and reliable system that exists to provide timely and accurate alerts to the public and provide information to help determine whether technological improvements are needed or necessary. Primary goal of the test is to test the capability of the president to be able to communicate with the public during national emergencies. How do we test EAS? There's the RWT, RMT, and then the IPAWS national test. Required weekly tests that consist of the familiar header and in the message tones that we all remember back from the 60s, Saturday night cartoons, the wonderful tones that we've maintained this entire time. It is scheduled by local stations on random days and times during weeks when there is not an RMT. The required monthly tests, these are all pre-scheduled and coordinated with state and alerting authorities. They can be regional-wide on an annual basis. They must be also relayed by all broadcast stations and cable channels. The IPAWS national test, at a very minimum, must occur every 3 years, and then they too must be transmitted by all EAS participants immediately. We collect data for assessing whether dissemination emergency alerts has been disseminated in a timely manner. IPAWS conducts weekly and monthly tests of the EAS and conducts national periodic tests at a minimum every 3 years. And how do we test WEA? So through the Integrated Public Alert Warning System platform, we utilize the same thing, the required weekly test, and it's at a RWT event code. It's approved event code used to test WEA. Alerting authorities may also use this event code to test WEA, but it should not be performed weekly on a weekly basis. The monthly required proficiency demonstration, each authorized authority, alerting authority, they must demonstrate the ability to compose and send a message through the IPAWS system at least once a month. And then subsequently, the IPAWS national test occurs minimum every 3 years. All major U.S. wireless providers that participate in WEA will transmit the national test to their subscribers. Your phone must be turned on, and it must be within range of an active cell tower. IPAWS alerting authorities test WEA through monthly required proficiency demonstrations and conduct additional tests at their discretion using the RWT event code. IPAWS conducts a national periodic test at a minimum of every 3 years. Some elements of the EAS and the WEA national test. The WEA national tests, IPAWS started conducting national tests of the WEA on October 3rd in 2018. And features of the WEA national test include using the national event code. Phones that are set to Spanish will display the alert in Spanish. The WEA test message itself will state this is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System and no action is needed. Cell towers will broadcast the WEA test for approximately 30 minutes. All WEA compatible cell phones that are switched on and within the range of an active cell tower should be capable of receiving the test message. To help FEMA determine carrier WEA configuration systems and networks, will process WEA sent to all cellular devices in the U.S. Phones will only receive this message once. The graphic on the right shows what a typical IPAWS national test will look like on the phone this year. The EAS national test, which started, the first one conducted on November 9th, 2011, features of the EAS national test also include that they are distributed to all radio and television broadcaster cable systems, satellite radio and television providers, and then some wireline video providers. All radio and television broadcasters are required to redistribute these messages to the public through the broadcasting channels. EAS participants that broadcast in Spanish will broadcast a Spanish translation of the alert. The alert interrupts programming for approximately 1 minute. This year, we will be disseminating this EAS as a CAP, which is Common Alerting Protocol, message via IPAWS Open. This message will read, this is a nationwide test of the emergency alert system issued by FEMA covering the United States from 2:20 to 2:50 p.m. Eastern. And it's only a test, and there is no action required by the public. Though not utilizing our national public warning system distribution method this year, I think it's important to show its infrastructure and capabilities. There are 77 PEP stations across the U.S. that can reach 90% of the U.S. population during emergencies. PEP stations are co-located with existing radio stations, and they provide backup in an emergency. They are hardened to withstand natural disasters and acts of terrorism and deliver a resilient emergency alert system messaging. This ties back to the law where President shall be able to alert under all conditions. The graphic on the right shows basic radio coverage of these 77 stations over a map of the United States. And then subsequently, the EAS system picks up these tones and then daisy chains them on through the EAS system. However, like I said, we will not be utilizing this system this year. That's on for future capabilities. The EAS CAP formatted alerts. This year's EAS message will be distributed via the Common Alerting Protocol, vice the NPWS. CAP is a digital format for exchanging emergency alerts. It also allows for consistent alert messaging to be disseminated simultaneously over multiple communications pathways. A CAP formatted alert are distributed through the IPAWS Open system, and this year's test will utilize both CAP for both the WIA and the EAS portions. The reach of the national test. The national test objective, the test shall reach all people in the United States at the time of the test. That's the goal. The IPAWS national test provides an opportunity to educate and enhance the public on general awareness of emergency alerting and warnings and our capabilities to prove that they are functional and exist. The IPAWS national test also requires a tight collaboration with the broadcasting community, our participating cellular carriers, and other agencies across the federal government. Specifics about the 2023 IPAWS national test, as I said, so on October 4th, IPAWS will be conducting the 7th IPAWS national test. The WIA test message will begin at 2:18 p.m. Eastern time, and then subsequently 2 minutes later, we will broadcast the EAS at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. What are we testing? This year, the IPAWS is going to be testing, will evaluate the CAP formatted EAS alerts and WIA using the Imminent Threat EAN event code for WIA and the NPT National Periodic Test code for EAS. This will read as national alert on your phone sets. Who will receive the test? The WIA portion of the test will reach all cell phones that are turned on and within range of all participating cellular services. The activities we've conducted. So before the test, we developed a test implementation guide and we conducted test execution planning. On October 4th, we will actually perform test execution. And then after, EAS participants are required to submit their responses to the FCC's EAS test reporting system, the ETRS. Subsequent reports come out from that to show the results of its outcomes. The 2023 national test on October 4th will test both WIA and EAS, and it shall reach the entire public of the U.S. at the time of test. So it's going to be interesting. Every cell phone in the United States will go off. Very exciting. On October 4th, 2023, the WIA will be sent at 2:18. And then EAS subsequently at 2:20. The IPAWS test is scheduled to be conducted on October 4th. However, the test is scheduled to be postponed due to widespread severe weather event or any other significant events that could cause us not be able to conduct it on October 4th. The backup date has been scheduled for 1 week following, which is October 11th, 2023. And this year, the EAS will be disseminated as a CAP introduced message via the IPAWS Open program or system, and will be sent from the IPAWS Technical Support Facility, which is where we are conducting this conference from mostly. It'll be distributed to all commercial broadcasters, and then, as I said, participating cellular carriers are required to go ahead and pass the message on via cell phones. The EAS and WIA portions of the test are both going to be sent in the CAP, which is a common alerting protocol format. This diagram shows a general flow chart of the IPAWS open pathway from alerting originator to final dissemination to the American public. As you can see, the primary thing is an event takes place. Your state, local, tribal, or territorial alerting authorities determine whether alert is needed. The originator then composes a common alerting protocol compliant alert, at which the AO reviews standardizations checklist and obtains approvals if applicable to make sure that it's ready to go. The AO sends the alert to the IPAWS open platform for emergency networks, where it is received or delivered to the IPAWS open gateway, and then the alert source and messages are authenticated via IPAWS, and then within seconds, IPAWS sends the authenticated alert to its disseminators. And as you can see, there's three key ones. This year, we're going to be utilizing the EAS, which will go to tower broadcast, radio broadcast towers, and ultimately to TV and radio. These are all the disseminators are indicated in the green column here. The WIA also will send to all mobile phones. Though not being utilized this year, the National Weather Service and the NOAA weather radios are also another option to be able to be sent. That's decided within the CAP message. And then subsequently for future technologies or upcoming technology, internet services, internet connected devices, your billboards, kiosks, desktop alerting software, etc. State and local alerting systems may also have different various methods of notifying systems with audible sirens, flashing lights, alarms, and horns. There are also emerging technologies that we're looking to, for example, automotive infotainment systems and digital broadcasting streaming methods like that. Ultimately, it reaches the public, which sending alerts ultimately saves lives, and that's the key of the entire program. Following the 2023 IPAWS national test, immediately following, the IPAWS office is going to deliver preliminary real results of the test to its key stakeholders. Knock wood, it's going to be a wonderful success. And then subsequently, additionally, following the IPAWS national test, IPAWS is independently going to conduct a survey that's going to help FEMA capture the geographical reach of the WIA alerting message and other key parameters that have been outlined in the IPAWS Modernization Act. Additionally, following the 2023 IPAWS national test, we'll evaluate the system's performance against the requirements that we had documented in our 2023 test plan. Also, all television and radio broadcasters are required to redistribute this test and submit information to this FCC's ETRS, which I stated earlier. And then the subsequent reporting that comes out following that is an overview of how the overall results of the EAS broadcast went. As we look to the future of national tests, FEMA continues to work with partners to improve IPAWS efficiency and the security, and looking towards emerging technologies that will enhance future alerting capabilities. Some examples such as use of avatars, in addition to American Sign Language provisions and captioning, next generation technology, as I mentioned, streaming services, gaming platforms, smart kiosks in malls, smart homes and buildings, your next gen ATSC 3.0 television broadcasting aspects, digital billboards, and now who knows, at some point, maybe your refrigerator or your toaster, if it's connected, may be able to give you an alert. And FEMA is also working to maintain the AM radio in all vehicles. That's a key factor that has come up a lot in the public's eye, and it's our goal to maintain AM radio services in all vehicles as a method of public safety. Moving forward, accessibility of the nationwide test. FEMA's IPAWS, we continue to enhance accessibility with public alert and warnings. Initiatives to enhance accessibility for national testing include the use of special alert tones for the emergency alert system and the WIA to improve accessibility for the hearing impaired. For WIAs, IPAWS also uses special vibrations and cadence for the cell phones. IPAWS supports alerts being sent in both English and Spanish. The WIA vibration cadence, it must have a temporal tone that must be repeated twice, and this vibration cadence must be restricted to use for alert messages only, and this is per FCC guidelines. When internet connectivity is available, IPAWS can provide emergency messaging content in multiple languages if provided by the alert originator for connected private sector systems that ultimately deliver this message to the American public. The scrolling visual message portion of an EAS must be displayed at the top of a television screen in a manner that is readily readable and understandable. And that's also as per FCC guidelines. The 2023 IPAWS national test will be available, as I said, in English and Spanish. Both the WIA and the EAS portions will use special tones to improve accessibility for hearing impaired, and the WIA portion will use the special vibration cadence. Collaboration in conduction of the IPAWS national test. The IPAWS program collaborates with the FEMA Office of External Affairs, the Office of National Continuity Programs, the FEMA administrator, and then regional leadership to conduct IPAWS national tests. Our IPAWS own stakeholder engagement branch also coordinates with tribal affairs, religious leaders, local governments, and others to provide education in preparation for and in the conducting of the IPAWS national test. We also liaison with intergovernment and other federal agencies. This includes DHS, Department of State, Department of Education. We take that particularly interesting. We think it's by utilizing the test in the early afternoon. We believe it provides an opportunity for a learning moment for teachers to be able to educate the children of the importance of public learning and its role in saving lives. So through the Department of Education, we coordinate that. National Weather Service, Department of Interior, and key liaison is our FCC, as the EAS follows a lot of their guidelines. IPAWS collaborates across FEMA, government agencies, state, tribal, and local communities to prepare and conduct the national test. Outreach for the national test is FEMA IPAWS engages in external outreach to stakeholders ahead of the national test. These efforts include dedicated content that we provide on our FEMA's website, and it also includes frequently asked questions. We share information through social media outlets. We provide a joint press release through us and FCC that's sent through to media in both English and Spanish versions. And then coming up very soon will be a public service announcement from our very own FEMA administrator. So be on the lookout for that. Information sharing with other government agencies and congressional stakeholders takes place. We share information with Canadian and Mexican governments. We provide presentations and various meetings and conferences, this being a perfect example of one. NEMA will also be taking place during the test, at which we have the administrator and the deputy administrator are both going to be presenting, will be there during the implementation of this year's test. IPAWS newsletter is also another venue in which we provide public awareness to, and then the FEMA Bulletin, which has a reach of over 76,000 external stakeholders. So that was a whirlwind of activity. I would like to thank everyone for the opportunity to inform you of this upcoming test. And now I guess we'll take this opportunity to address any questions you may have.
Okay, Matt, I'm going to give you the floor to ask for these questions.
Great. Thanks, Justin. Got a lot of questions from everyone. I know one that came up to me directly. Maybe you can answer this. Will the test proceed if the government shuts down?
You're on mute, Ward. There you go.
All right, I'm back on track. So that's been asked quite a few times. It is definitely a concern to us, but regardless of the potential of the federal budget lapse, FEMA will continue its critical operations that include public alert and warning responsibilities. The decision on whether or not to conduct or delay the test, if there is a funding lapse, has not yet been made. The national alerting capability will remain and does remain functional despite the funding status. And then key personnel are always in place to ensure that the systems are operational and ready for use during the national emergency. So to be determined is the answer, but the alerting capabilities are never in question. It's just the actual testing of these capabilities, whether or not they will be approved or not.
Thank you. Question from Karen. If there are dual SIMs in the phone, will the phone receive the test once through each carrier?
That is a good question. I might defer to our IPAWS engineering branch chief for an answer on that. My guess would be that it still only receives it once. That's a pretty unique question. Does anybody else on the panel have a more accurate answer?
Hey, Warren,
This is Mark. Can
this
you
is
hear me?
Al Kenyon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can, Al. Thank you.
The phone will receive the WIA message from the service provider that is connected to at the time. Your phone typically does not use both SIM card or both SIMs at the same time. So you're only connected to one service provider. So presumably you would only receive the message once. If for some reason you transition from one service provider to another service provider during the valid period of the WIA message, which is a 30-minute window, it's possible you will see it twice, but it is very unlikely.
We got a couple different questions about language. Some are asking if the phone is set to Spanish, will you receive it in both English and Spanish or just one? And then also to follow on to that, if their preferred language is not either of those two, will they receive it in that selected language?
Currently, I defer to the learning originators' capabilities of providing the information to the IPAWS open system. As it stands now, we can accommodate multiple languages, but the originator has to be able to provide that. As it stands, we currently just only utilize Spanish and English. If your handset is set to Spanish, it will receive the Spanish translation of it. Same as if it's in English, it will receive the English.
There was a question about emerging technologies. Is IPAWS considering using emerging technologies such as AI to create alerts and utilizing increased automation to send out alerts?
I'll let anybody expand on this, but basically, yeah, we are always looking towards emerging technologies and what capabilities are out there. It's an ever-changing environment, and we are continually, when we go to National Association of Broadcasters, the NAB things, and look at new technologies, we're continuously looking at opportunities to be able to integrate that stuff into our program. And a lot of it has to do with the originators' capabilities also, and the standards by which the CAP, the Common Alerting Protocol, has the features and functions to be able to accommodate all the different upcoming technologies. The use of AI has been considered in providing translation instead of just the English and the Spanish. There are many different translation softwares out there. There's many avatars, there's many AI things that provide that. But it also, with us just being the transit system of the origination package to the delivery of the public, there's a responsibility issue of, like, in the event that the translation is not conducted accurately, who's to blame, or there's a lot of aspects of it that make it kind of it requires a lot of research and a lot of approvals to be able to conduct adding these new features. If anybody else has anything additional to add, I'll open the mic to them.
I do want to move on to the next question. I have a really great one from Ryan. Without any type of two-way reporting, how can we know that our WIA alerts were actually received by phones? How can we know what % of phones successfully received the alert?
I'm going to try and answer that as best I can. We only have the IPAWS Open has the capability to look to the cell carriers, and it says it's sent in X number of seconds to the cell carriers. That is commercially owned technology, and they probably like to keep that information, to my best guess, close at hand, right? To kind of say the reliability, their expectability of how many of their customers receive. We would love to get that information. It is very valuable towards looking at public sentiment. How do they feel about WIAs? Are they getting barraged by them? Do they not get enough of them? But our technology, our capability can only reach to the cell carriers at this time. We are with this subsequent survey we're going to be conducting. This is, like I said, this is outside of the scope of the test itself. It's something we're doing independently, but it is also looking towards that type of answers. Did you receive the message? How many of you received the message? And did you receive it in the language you liked, et cetera? So, yeah, in a nutshell, looking towards that stuff, but don't have the capability to do it as of now.
I think Mark had his hand up.
Yeah,
Mark?
can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's a great question, and we get it all the time. You know, how do I know my alert got to the phone? So there's what's within the realm of possibility today, and then there's what's in planning, right? Per regulation, FCC regulation, the cell carriers are required to deliver alerts to 100% of the target area with no more than 1/10 of a mile of overshoot. That's the requirement. Now, in theory and in practice, right? What do we see in practice? Well, we don't have any metrics, and as Wade said, as Ward said, our survey should help to fill in some of those blanks. But I will note that the FCC has a further notice of proposed rulemaking out, or they had one out for comment, where they're asking about performance metrics. You know, how can cell carriers collect performance metrics and make that information available to alert originators? So we're kind of waiting to see what happens with that notice of proposed rulemaking before we can actually answer that question as to what can be done in the future. But today, cell carriers are on the hook to deliver that to 100% of the target area.